Sounds good. Hello, I'm Daniel Babalola, and I'm sort of your host for today. And I'm with Metzger, who is a licensed financial planner for Blue Heron Financial Group. And so today he's going to talk to us a little bit about relationships and finances. So hello, Mr. Metzger. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
So I'd just like to ask you a few questions about your job, what it is you do, and the sort of things that you're interested in the day-to-day of your job.
Let's do it.
So what exactly do you do at Blue Heron?
So Daniel, as you know, I'm also a full-time teacher and a part-time financial advisor, paraplanner. Paraplanner would be the easiest term to call me. I was on an advisor track for a long time and then realized I wanted to get into teaching. So that's a whole nother story. But the role I currently occupy, since I'm just part-time in the financial world now, is paraplanner. If you look up that term, you Google that term, it's just like a paralegal, except you are the understudy for an advisor. So my role is kind of anything and everything that I can do to take tasks off my advisors' plates, to free them up to do what they do best, which is meet with our clients or prospective clients or whatever it may be. So it could be things like placing trades and accounts, helping to build investment models. It could be investment research. It could be helping a client open an account, helping a client take a distribution. It could be doing a full review. If it's kind of a smaller client that isn't one of kind of our quote unquote bigger portfolios, then I might, my two advisors might say, Steve, you go ahead, you can handle that one on your own. I might sit in on appointments to help just take notes or just be another voice. So I wear a lot of different hats. It's very interesting. I love that I get to continue to do both, stay in the financial world and teach at the same time. But that's kind of what my paraplanner role is essentially do anything and everything that I can to free up the advisors.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So of your clients, about what % of them would you say are couples looking to sort of start a portfolio or expand their portfolio?
Sure. So in financial advising, there's a bit of a problem in the sense that most financial advisors work one of two ways. Either they'll charge you a flat fee, and that can range anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to, if you're getting into millionaires, much bigger fee. But for the average American, maybe you could expect for a financial plan somewhere in the range of $1,000 to $3,000 or so. And a lot of people don't have that kind of money. So the issue with financial advising that I see at the moment is that millions of people need help, but only so many people can afford it. And actually, let me backtrack. The other way that financial advisors get paid, other than a flat fee, the other way is to manage their money. So Daniel, you could come to me and say, hey, I've done a really good job saving in my 401k. I've worked for 15 years. I don't really know what I'm doing. I would like to roll that money into an IRA and have you manage it. And I could charge you probably a 1% per year fee off of the money that I'm managing for you. So that's mainly the two ways that advisors get paid: flat fee, or it's called assets under management percentage, which is typically around 1.2% or so for the services we do. So the problem is, like I said, a lot of young people need help. A lot of people who don't have a lot of money need help. But advisors aren't very incentivized to take care of those people because they don't have a lot of money. It makes more sense for me to go after people who have $1 million, $2 million, and plus, because we can make more money off of those people. Unless we're charging a flat fee, and which in that case, if it's like $2,000, let's say, per year, or whatever it may be, then still we're excluding young people or people who don't have a lot of money because they can't afford to pay that. So that's the hard part of what we do, is that we need to still make money as a business, but also my heart goes out to all the people who struggle with credit card debt or struggle with starting just from a start point, starting retirement savings or whatever it may be. Those people need help, but it's not, doesn't makes sense financially for a business to take care of them because we can't make money. So that's the hard part in America that I see of financial advisors really can only afford to take care of the people who already have money, not the people who need to start making money, if that makes sense.
So generally speaking, people who already have money tend to be fairly experienced with things like 401k and working on a portfolio.
Yeah.
Does Blue Heron ever need to sort of start from scratch with a completely new couple, completely develop a new portfolio for a particular client?
I would say, Daniel, I think you'd be surprised in the fact that a lot of people, the 401k is a beautiful thing because, as you know, money goes in every 2 weeks, just blindly. It's out of sight, out of mind. It never hits your bank account, so you never actually hold it. It automatically goes into your investment account and gets invested for you. But the thing you'd probably be surprised about is that so many people have no idea what it is or what they're invested in or anything. They do it, which is great, and they're putting 5%, 10%, whatever it may be into their portfolio. But not many people actually know what they're invested in. They're just blindly doing it. They talk to their parent, they've talked to a friend, they've talked to someone and said, I guess I'll invest in this. I don't even know what it is, but this is what my uncle told me to do. So there's so many people who come into our office to say, I've been saving for 20 years. I've done a really good job. I've put 15% of my salary into my 401k over 15, 20, 30 years, but I have no idea what investing is. I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. And that's certainly a big part of what we do. It's a piece of what we do. But at Blue Heron, we are not just investment advisors. So we are comprehensive financial planners. So, for Daniel, we'd say, are you covered for your life insurance? How does your budget look? What does your credit card debt look like? How does your other debt look? We're going to look at the entire picture because for us, while the investments are fun and they're kind of the sexy thing, if you will, everybody gets all jazzed up about the investment. It's like only looking at one piece of the engine of a car. If you're bleeding cash in your budget, but your investments are great, well, that doesn't really matter because you're bleeding cash. So we believe the advisors who just handle investments, we don't think that's wise. We need to know, like Daniel, are you risk adverse? Do you like risk? We need to know everything there is about someone and see the whole picture, the whole engine of the car, if we're going to make any recommendations on any piece of that car, if that makes sense.
For someone that might not be as familiar with your career in particular, what's the difference between a financial planner and a financial advisor? Sure.
So they're pretty much interchangeable. It really just comes down to what the advisor, it's almost like a preacher and a pastor, like in the religious world. It's like, what's really the difference between the two? The bigger thing are the designations that you can have, that you can test for. For example, the two biggest ones is a CFP, and which is a certified financial planner. And then there's a certified, I'm trying to think of my friend Joe, who is a certified investment. I'm trying to think of the other one. Essentially one, I was studying to be a CFP, certified financial planner. And that really is comprehensive. So looking at life insurance, looking at budget, looking at investments, looking at the whole picture. But you can also go down a track where you work for a company like a T. Rowe Price in Baltimore, or Brown, or Legg Mason. We have a lot of great investment companies right here in our state. I'm trying to think of what the designation is. And they're solely focused on investing and portfolios. And they're going to say, you're going to need to go somewhere else to get long-term care insurance or life insurance, wherever it may be. We're just strictly going to work on your investments. So those are kind of the two tracks you can go down. If you really, really love investments and investments only, there's plenty of places where you can just focus on that and take care of that for people. But what I do, like I said, I think it makes more sense to see the whole picture and to take care of someone's entire picture, with investments being a crucial component of that picture. So CFP is the big designation in my industry, certified financial planner.
I have a question. What tends to happen in portfolios in cases of divorce?
So in case of divorce, Certainly it depends on what the lawyers come up with and what they decide to do. Kind of two different things happen. It depends on for 401ks and 403bs, it's called a QDRO, which is a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, I believe. I hope I'm getting that right. Google will tell you if I'm wrong or not. But that essentially is a court order to split assets, or however the court decides and the lawyers decide that's going to be split. For non-qualified accounts, so not IRAs, not 401ks, that can be split a little easier. The non-qualified money, the non-retirement money that's invested, sometimes it's a little tricky because those can kick off what's called capital gains. And so when you're dealing with splitting some of those assets, it gets a little murky, a little sticky. But once again, we're kind of at the mercy of the court system, and we kind of just do whatever they tell us to do. If we need to split it, we have forms on our side that both parties would have to sign to make that happen. But it's, for the most part, I will say, there seems to be a lot of just 50-50 splits down the middle, but not always. Sometimes they say, hey, I'm going to keep this IRA, you're going to keep this non-retirement account, and it's a little cleaner, but a lot of times we see 50-50 splits.
So what are some of the things you take into account when designing a portfolio for a couple in particular?
Sure. So like I said, I'll stick with the mechanic analogy. The first thing we do, I'll give you a little taste of what it would look like. So Daniel, you call in and you say, we're going to age you a little bit. We're going to say, I'm a 53-year-old man. I'm married. I have a few kids who've just gotten out of college. I'm gearing up towards retirement in the next 10, 15 years. And I've done a good job saving, but I just need to see where I'm at in terms of my retirement. I need someone to take a look. Typically at our process with Blue Heron is I would get on a phone call or a Zoom with you and just meet you. And so we kind of view that as almost like a first date. We're at a really, really good position in our business where we don't necessarily have to take every client who walks through the door. So we just want to get the feel of who you are, and you can see who we are and see if that matches up, see if our personalities click, and if it's something that we want to move forward with. And if, after me describing to you what we do and you telling me about a little bit about yourself, if we both say, okay, this looks like this could be something beneficial to both of us, then we would send out a questionnaire. And it's a Word document. We have a Word document, Microsoft Word document, and a Microsoft Excel document. And the Word document has categories like income, both now and in retirement. So will you have Social Security? Will you have a pension? Will you have money coming from rental income? Currently, how much do you make? What's your bonus? What's all that? Assets, do you own any property? What's your non-retirement, your retirement assets, your Roth IRA, your any and everything, liabilities, credit card debt, mortgage, home equity loan. Then we'll ask about insurance. Do you have long-term care insurance? Do you have life insurance? Do you have disability insurance? And at the very end, we have a risk assessment, a little test where you kind of rate yourself in terms of risk. So we know, Daniel, are you an aggressive investor? Are you a conservative investor? Because we need to know all of these things. Like I said, we're building an engine here. So we need to see all the pieces of the puzzle, if you will. And then the Excel document is a budget tool where Daniel, you would take a recent pay stub and you would put in exactly how much you make, both gross and net. So we would see all your deductions. Are you putting money into medical, into a 401k, whatever it may be? And then on the flip side of that document, you're going to put in all your expenses, your mortgage, your utilities, your holiday spending, your vacation spending, your Netflix spending. We want to see everything. We want to know everything financially that there is to know about Daniel. So that then, once you get all that information back to us and provide us with statements, now we start building and crafting. We have a software that we can use to analyze your portfolios, that we can use to analyze your projections in terms of once Daniel or you retire and stop making money, will you be able to live off the money you saved, which is the biggest question that people have. But also, like I said, are you covered for from a life insurance perspective, from a long-term care perspective? There's just so many things we dive into once you get all your information back to us that we need some time to process it, work on it, discuss it as a team. And then we would meet with you again face to face. We just started getting back face to face after like a year and a half with people. But get together with you to discuss. We'll say, here's everything you gave us. Here's the picture. Here's what it means. Are you going to be able to meet your goals or not? And if not, what changes do we recommend? And if so, there are probably things you could be doing better that we're going to recommend. So that's kind of the 5-minute idea of what we do and what that process looks like. But that's essentially it. An intro call. You get information to us. We analyze it, create a plan for you. We meet again and discuss and give recommendations. That's kind of the plan.
In your analogy, you sort of mentioned that I would be a 50-year-old man. And when talking about age, a lot of people are particularly curious on when would be a good time to sort of sit down with a financial advisor and decide how exactly your retirement portfolio might be set up.
Yeah. So that goes back kind of what I was saying maybe a question or two ago of that's the hard part, is that there probably aren't that many financial advisors who would deem an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 23-year-old as worth their time, because they're just not going to make a lot of money off of you. As cruel as that sounds, it's the truth. These are still businesses that need to make money. It's like if you go into the Apple store with $5, the Apple store is going to say, well, sorry, we don't have anything for you. It's kind of like advisors as well. You don't have money to invest. It's kind of not worth their time. So that's the hard part. And that's where I would say, as an educator, because that's my full-time job, that's where schools need to step in to educate and give people a bit of a base of a foundation of knowledge that then they are set up for future success once they do start making money. So that's the hard part, is the financial advising industry isn't built to really take care of a lot of young people right now. But like you asked, that's when you potentially could really skyrocket your savings, is when you start at a young age. As soon as you start your first career job, quote unquote, or even before then, because you could open up a Roth IRA at age 18 as soon as you start making money. That's, we can get into a whole conversation about compounding interest, but compounding interest, I think it was Einstein who said it's like the eighth wonder of the world or something like that. It is a truly, truly beautiful thing if you can really rocket start your retirement savings at a very young age and let that money work for you and the investments grow for you over time. That's an amazing, amazing thing. But the problem is so many people are uneducated and they don't know these things and they don't know how to do it. They don't know the best ways of doing it. They just don't know what to do. And so that's where education just needs to, I think, step in, because like I just said, financial advisors, that's not going to be their place in this. They're going to mainly take care or want to take care of people who have money, not take care of people who are just trying to get going and start doing the right things.
Do parents ever create portfolios for their children?
Sure. So yeah, very good question. So there's a few options. The first is called an UTMA, a unified, oh no, I'm going to butcher it. Unified Transfer to Minors Act account. There's also an UGMA, which is a under gift minors act. I think that sounds about right. So those are essentially investment accounts that once the child turns 18, the parent is passing that account off to a child. There's also 529 plans, which we all know, those are college investment saving plans. So Daniel, if you put in, I'm about to have my third child. I'll just use me in this case. We're not going to make you have a child yet. If I put in $5,000, tomorrow for my third child, and if by the time that child's 18 and ready to go to college, if that's grown to $50,000, none of that money is ever taxed. So it's all tax-free growth, but it has to be used towards education. So there are certain parameters on all these things. if Daniel, if you were 13, 14 years old and we're actually making some money, doing maybe little jobs here and there, you could open up a Roth IRA. I could open one in your name. So that's one option there. And then what's the last? Oh, then Fidelity. I don't know if you saw this news or not, but Fidelity just announced a month ago that they were going to allow 13 to 17-year-olds open up investment accounts on their platform. But the trick was, and a very tricky move by Fidelity, is that one of your parents has to have an account opened at Fidelity as well. So it's a really sneaky, smooth move by Fidelity to capture young investors who want to just start with just a few $100 or whatever it may be, but also it forces their parents to get on their platform, which is brilliant. And as we've seen with Robinhood, where all these people got on Robinhood, and then all these people are super mad at them when they blocked the trading of all the meme stocks. Well, Robinhood really didn't lose that many clients, because what Fidelity and what Robinhood and what a lot of these people have figured out is once they get you as a client, usually people are too lazy to move. So that's the brilliance of Fidelity letting 13 to 17-year-olds open up an account, is that then they might have you for life. Even if you're just investing a few $100 here and there, that's the hope for Fidelity. They're not making a lot of money off 13-year-olds. They're hoping they're going to snag you for the rest of your life, and you're never going to move your money out of there. So there's UTMAs, there's UGMAs, 529s for college or just secondary education. There's Roth IRAs if you have income, and there's now the new Fidelity account, the non-retirement Fidelity account for 13 to 17-year-olds. So there's a few different options for younger people.
You mentioned an interest in educating children on financial literacy.
Sure.
And now that you sort of have this platform, do you have any sort of short bits of advice that you can give for someone that's interested in financial literacy or some sort of investing for the future?
Man. I could give probably a million different bits of advice. The biggest would be, and this is kind of good because I'm actually, as my students will tell you, I can be scatterbrained and float all over the place. But the thing that I can say that ties into everything else I've been saying is that financial advisors, like I said, aren't going to do this for you for the most part, unless it's a family friend who wants to educate you and help you out and help build your portfolio. That's different. But for the most part, you're not going to be able at age 18, 20 to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. CFP financial planner in Bowie, Maryland, I would like for you to help me start investing for retirement. It's just not going to be worth their time. So the best thing I could advise, and I think it's even kind of a question you're going to get to here in a second, but if the school's not going to do it for you, if the school's not going to educate you, there is so much information via book, podcast, internet. There's so much out there that you can digest for free, and you can educate yourself. Now, that's not, sometimes you might not get into you might get to sources that aren't the most reliable or trustworthy sources, which is a problem. But still, we have access to more information than at any time in human history. I mean, the free information is overwhelming. So that's what I would ask young people to say: if the school's not going to do it, if financial advisors aren't going to do it, if some parents aren't going to do it, you've got to teach yourself. You've got to learn about these things yourself, because guess what? If you don't, you're going to have to pay me to do it for you. That's just the truth. So would you rather just learn it, take the time to learn about it on your own, or pay someone down the line to do it for you? And there's a lot of people, like my wife, she would tell you, she'd say, I have zero interest in learning about any of that stuff. I'll just pay someone to do it. And that's fine. I'll always have a job, a secondary job because of that. But for most people, you've got to, at a young age, have a basic understanding, which is beautiful, Daniel, about what you and your team are doing. You've got to have a basic understanding of investing, of debt, of estate planning, of all these different things. They're so critical and crucial to the success of marriages, to the success of your own mental state. There's just so many things that financial freedom and financial literacy do for communities, for relationships, for individuals, for whatever it may be, that it's insane to me why it's not, in my point of view, it should be a class that you have to take every year of high school, just so that we can make sure that we've got individuals graduating high school that know and have a great understanding of what they're about to walk into once they get into college and after college. But we'd rather teach subjects that I will not name to I won't slander any other subjects, but it's just nuts to me that there's Daniel, I say this to people, other than English, name me a subject that could be taught in high schools that you can guarantee will affect 100% of the students walking out of the doors when they graduate.
Personally, pre-algebra.
But even then, most of the math I do in my life happens right here on the calculator on my computer. So the fact that, like I said, it's vital that people know how to read and write and all that. English, I think, is the number one most important class in high school. But if I'm going to be very, very biased, and I would say financial literacy, personal finance, investing would be the second most important class we could teach the students in high school. But it's not. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So you got to educate yourself. If they're not going to educate you on it, you've got to take some time to educate yourself. And there's a million resources out there for you to do that.
Speaking about those resources, do you have any books, YouTube channels, podcasts, or anything to recommend to people that they can use to educate themselves?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of podcasts. I could even pull up my podcast right here. So it depends on how technical you want to get. So there's this thing called Marketplace, which is by NPR. That's just a good one that will just keep you dangerous and keep you updated on things going on in the business world, really. There's a ton of different podcasts from here. I'm gonna do it live. This one, if you really love investing, Daniel, this would be a good one for you. If you really love investing, there's this, oh, come on, focus, baby. It's called, you can't go see it. It's called Invest Like the Best. It's very technical. So it's only for specific people like Daniel, if you really love investing. But then the other one that I would really say is the Wall Street Journal has a bunch. Man, it's just not going to focus, is it? But that one's called Your Money Briefing. They also have a podcast. They're all very short. There's one that's called What's News. So the Wall Street Journal, really good ones. If you really want to get technical with investing, Invest Like the Best. NPR, Marketplace, just for general business news going on every single day. Those would be 3 podcasts. The Morning Brew is my favorite. Has become something I use as for teaching. It's a free newsletter that gets emailed to you every single morning. And just once again, it's not investment specific, it's just business specific, but it just will keep you, it'll make you dangerous, if you will. You'll be up to date on everything going on in the business world. So Morning Brew, free newsletter, gets emailed to you every morning. We use it, all my students will know exactly what I'm talking about because I use their stuff all the time because I'm in the business of wanting to keep my students up to date. NerdWallet, one of my favorite websites to use. Nerdwallet.com has a ton of really good articles explaining Roth IRAs, credit cards, a million different things, but I really like the content that NerdWallet puts out. And then if you like books, there's a book that I recently read. It's not a very long read at all. It's pretty short. I think it's been on New York Times bestseller maybe earlier this year, but it's called The Psychology of Money. Morgan Housel, I think is the person's name. But The Psychology of Money, pretty short read, but just some good basic fundamentals of money and things that people do right and wrong when it comes to money. That'd be a good one. Yeah, I'm telling you, Daniel, I'm telling you, there's so many books, there's so many podcasts, there's so many websites, there's so many resources out there that there's no excuse not to educate yourself and have a good understanding of the business world, of the investment world, whatever world you want to, arm yourself with and become dangerous with. There's so many resources out there to do that.
A few personal questions. How did you form your interest in finance?
Good question. So I was see if you can see my chest here. I went to the University of Maryland. I'm a proud Terp. And I went to school thinking I was going to be a journalism major. And if I can plug an idea for you guys, it would be internships. I stress connections with my students all the time and internships with my students all the time. But the reason I found out I didn't want to do journalism was because I did internships. And I was like, all right, this isn't the life for me. And then I got close, and then I made a change and I became a marketing major. And so I switched to marketing because I really loved the psychology of marketing, the game of marketing, if you will. Marketing is really, really fun. So I thought, okay, that sounds like a really fun thing to do with my life. I'm going to do marketing. So I took courses, and I was going into my senior year at the University of Maryland. And my father gave me a great piece of advice. He said, I was starting to get a little anxious about graduating and starting my career. And I just wasn't feeling like marketing was meant for me. And so my father gave me some great advice, and he said, try to meet with one business professional every single week of your senior year. It doesn't matter if you're interested in what they do or not, but you're going to start building a network. You're going to start building a spider web of people that you know, so that when you graduate, you'll be able to more easily find a job because now you have all these business connections. But also, you'll be able to hear from real world experience, is what you are doing here in interviewing me. And you'll be able to hear from people who've actually done these things before and can tell you what it's like, so that then you can then say, okay, that kind of matches with who I am or not. So that's where it was beautiful, is I met with people in construction, people in assisted living. I met with people in architecture. I met with people from all sorts of industries, but I met with 2 financial planners who told me about how they take care of people in an industry, in an area of their lives where people are clueless and don't know what they're doing and need help. And that spoke to me. I'm a very social person. I love to take care of people. I love to teach people. And so that spoke to me when they said, we're teachers, we're psychiatrists. We really take care of these people and walk them through life and get them to where they want to be financially. And I was like, that's it. And I said, this is a big problem because I'm a marketing major. I took 1 finance class in college. I don't know how I'm going to connect this now. But like I said, because of the advice my father gave me, those 2 advisors who I met with that day, when I graduated 4 months later, I impressed them so much that they said, Stephen, which is my name, they said, Stephen, we can teach you all the finance stuff. We love your makeup as a human being. We love the questions you ask. We love how intentional you were. We love how smart you are. We'll teach you all the finance stuff. We want to hire you because of your makeup and who you are as a person. So once again, from building those networks, building those relationships, and just putting myself out there and meeting people, I never had anything finance related on my resume, but graduating with a marketing degree and taking journalism classes, I immediately found a job in finance because of the connections I made. So I force my students to interview people and make connections, because it's exactly pretty much every job I've ever had in life is because of the connections that I made and the people I knew. I started teaching 3 years ago. And one of the things my principal did, I had 0 teaching experience, but one of the things my principal did was she reached out, she went on Facebook and she found me, and she found that we had a mutual friend, both her and myself. And she called that mutual friend, Kristen, and she said, Kristen, I'm interviewing Steve Metzger to be a teacher at Arundel High School. What do you think? And Kristen was immediately able to vouch for me and said, you better hire that guy immediately. It'd be a big mistake if you didn't. Boom, once again, all about connections. Everywhere I've been has pretty much never been about my resume. It has always been about people being able to speak to who I am as a human and what I'm all about. So It's a kind of a long story of how I ended up where in the financial world, but then I spent 10 years in finance. Now I'm in year 11 or 12, started teaching as well. So it's been a crazy little ride, Daniel.
As someone who had to do a lot of education and had to be mentored a lot separate from an academic environment, what advice would you give to people who would like to pursue financial planning or financial advising as a future career?
So I can give you this. So I'm going to be very biased because it's what I did, but I see what people do. There are kind of three routes. So you ready for this? I will not name company names because I don't want to make people mad. But there are some companies who will hire you as a 22-year-old graduate of a college and hire you right away and train you for 6 months to be a financial advisor and say, go financially advise. You're an advisor. Congratulations. You're 23 years old. You're ready to advise 65-year-olds on their money. It's nuts. I hate it. I hate it about the industry. There are some firms that I won't name that do it, but they drive me nuts. Because here's what they do, Daniel, is they'll take you as a 23-year-old just graduated and hire you as a financial planner with only 6 months training. And maybe in your time of being a financial advisor, you'll get like 10 clients. Odds are it's like an 85 to 90% failure rate being a financial advisor. It's really hard to be a financial advisor. But if you gobbled up 10, 15, 20 clients, and then you fail because you're just not making enough money, guess who gets to keep those clients? The firm that you're working for. So it's like a dirty little trick to get clients to come in, have the young advisor fail. It's a hot mess. Don't go that route. They will sell you like you are God's gift to earth. I remember when I was 22, 23, they were like, oh, you're going to be the best advisor in the Indianapolis area. You're going to be amazing. And I was like, yeah, I am going to be amazing. I'm going to be great. It was total bull. So that some firms will hire you right away. And then there's two other routes. And it depends, like I said before, do you really want to go the investment route or do you want to go the financial planning route? So as I said before, we have Legg Mason, we have T. Rowe Price, a fantastic Baltimore company. We have Brown Advisory. We have, there's so many, but there's some really, really good investment firms here in Baltimore, Maryland. There's more in DC. We're in a really, really cool spot in the country in terms of plenty of opportunities. So you could go work for one of the big companies and start out low on the totem pole and start out like as an associate or just answering calls or whatever it may be, but you'll get training. You'll be around a lot of people. You'll make a lot of connections. There's an element of me that I wish would have done that because I think it's phenomenal in terms of the networks that you can make and the connections you can make being at one of those big firms like Legg Mason or T. Rowe Price. So you go advisor right away, work for one of the big companies, one of the big investment companies in Maryland or DC or whatever, or you can go the route that I went is to be a paraplanner. And to find a financial advisor, there's a million in this area, Baltimore, Howard County, Montgomery County, everywhere. But you can essentially be an understudy. You can kind of be an apprentice to an advisor. There's plenty of advisors out there who need help, whether you're experienced or not. And so that's the route I think makes the most sense, is to sit under an advisor, pay your dues, work 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years for the advisor, because then you will learn from that advisor. I think it's nuts that any advisor should be under the age of 30 because you just don't have any dirt under your fingernails. You don't know anything. You haven't experienced anything. You don't know anything. So unless you actually have paid your dues and actually sat in on appointments and sat with an experienced advisor and learned things, I just don't think you're worth, I don't think you don't have any value in this industry if you don't have any dirt under your fingernails. So that's the route I like. I think it sets you up for success. You could, in that time of sitting underneath the advisor, you can take your tests for your CFP, you can get licensed, you can get a lot of things knocked out during that time. And then when you're ready to start advising clients on your own, then you can be an advisor. You can continue to work with the advisor you've been sitting under. You could become a partner with that advisor. If that advisor's older, here's a little trick. If you're really, really into this, find an advisor who's in their 50s or even older, find an advisor in their 60s or so who's looking to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. And maybe you could then take over the business. You could buy them out, and now you have a business that you can take over and make your own. So those are kind of 3 routes. Become an advisor right away, huge failure rate. I would not suggest it. Work for one of the big companies, or sit under an existing advisor and be their apprentice, learn from them, be a paraplanner. Those are kind of my 3 routes I like.
I don't think I have any further questions. This has been a very insightful interview, and I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to sort of do all of this for us.
Daniel, you're the man. I'm more than happy to give you any time. You're a future rock star, my friend. I can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.